All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our fourth session of our Future MDs in STEM summer program. We are incredibly excited to have you all with us. We hope that you've had a restful long weekend and that you're back and ready to jump back into the summer program and all the things that we're doing here. Today we have a guest speaker. His name is Dr. Nagara, and he's going to be talking to us about his journey into medical school and his tips, advice, and some other information he has to share with us. So without further ado, we'll let him take it away. And if you have any questions for him, you're more than welcome to ask them in the chat or perhaps raise your hand if you have some time for them at the end of the session.
All right, hi everyone. Let me just get set up.
Yes, you can see it.
All right. Let's see. Hopefully you can see my screen. Yes, thumbs up. No, yes, no. All right, great.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so as Davina mentioned, I'm Emmanuel, and I'm a radiologist. And I just moved to Florida for my first job as an attending, and I'm pretty excited about that. So hopefully you get a glimpse of what my journey has been in the next couple of minutes, and I'll be very open to questions and answers at the end. So, but before I begin, I'm going to ask you some questions, okay? So I just want you to type in the chat the following 3 questions, answers to whatever is unique to yourself. So where are you from? What specialty medicine do you want to pursue? And why medicine? So I'll give you about a minute to just type in the chat this question so that I get a rough idea of who I'm talking to. Starting now. Okay. Okay, I see some India, Egypt, UAE, Hong Kong, India. Lots of Egyptians. Dentistry, okay. Neuroscience, surgery, Thailand, surgery, neurosurgery, internal medicine, physiotherapy, orthopedics, neuroscience. All right. So now I want you to answer the second question. Why medicine? Okay, relieve pain from people. I'm just reading out loud. Why medicine? This will become very important as I go through my talk. So I just want as many people to just answer before I close this poll. Okay, neurosurgery. I love the brain, how powerful and fragile it is. OB-GYN, destigmatize women's reproductive issues and health. My personality, health equity, love science, and would like to help others in this way, to help people be in great health. All right, so you can keep the messages coming, and then I'll tell you about my own story. Let me just do this. Just give me a second, guys. All right, so just as an outline, because I like to give an outline so that we know where we're coming from and where we're going. So I'll start off with just introducing myself and how I made my own decisions in my career as a physician, and my advice, and what I do on a day-to-day basis. I'll just show you an example of one of the cases that we see, and I'll do a Q&A. So, and as I noticed, like a lot of people are outside of the US, and I guess to tailor my conversation, I'll just preface by saying that I'm based in the US, and I know there's some people who come in as international medical graduates, so they've done medical school in their own home country, and then they want to do residence in the US. Unfortunately, that was not my path, so I may not be able to have good discussions on that pathway, but I'll discuss more about the student who's probably currently in high school or in college and thinking about coming to the US to start all over, from college and then going to medical school, because that's pretty much what I know the most. Maybe some other speakers may be able to elucidate the other pathways. So I grew up in Zimbabwe, small country in Southern Africa. And I came to the US pretty much, I dreamt of a better life. I didn't want to stay in Zim for many reasons. I think some of them were political, economical. And I just thought to myself, you know what? I want to be able to, explore for myself um, and see what the world has to offer. I was always one of those people who was adventurous. So when I was in Zimbabwe, that's where I did my O levels and A levels. And I went to a boarding school that was quite far from home because I wanted to just see, what else is there out there, right? And I wanted to learn how other countries work. So, coming from a state that was really struggling, I just wanted to know come to the US and see what else is out there. And I was just, really, frankly, I was just tired of being poor. I wanted to see if I could better myself and than my own family. So that was part of the reasons why I made the move to leave from Zimbabwe to come to the US. And some people may or may not be familiar with this program. It's called the United States Student Achievers Program, or USAP. So that's the program that I was involved in before I came to the US. So basically, what they did is they paid for SATs and kind of gave us some college guidance, and then we applied to the US. That was my introduction to the US educational system. So I applied and I got in. There were about 30 students throughout Zimbabwe who were selected at that time. And I was fortunate enough to be one of them. So that's how I came. But before I did that, I actually, after my A levels, I enrolled at the University of Zimbabwe for medical school. As most other places, you just go right after high school. So I enrolled there and I did a little close to a year. And then I got the opportunity to come to the US in 2007, and where I moved to Ohio to Oberlin College. I was on an F1 visa at that time, and it was an exciting time to be away from home and being in college, being in the US, getting to meet new people from all around the world. But obviously, it was a challenging time as well because then you have to adjust to a different culture, meeting new people, a new educational system, and uh, that comes, get to miss home and your friends, and you're starting all over again. But in the end, it was worth it. So what I did in college, I tried to do as much volunteer activities as I could. So I was involved with like the soup kitchen, and I got to serve on the board of directors for the nonprofit that was affiliated with the soup kitchen. And I was very much involved in, like the pre-med stuff, being president of this, doing that, just trying to beef up my application so that I could get into medical school. And what happened is when I was in my first year of college, I met this guy who was at Harvard Medical School, and he was originally from Ghana. Shout out to the Ghanaians out there. And I didn't talk to him that much, but just gave me the idea that, oh, if he could do it, then I could do it too. It's possible because a lot of my advisors were telling me that, oh, it's not possible to get into medical school as an international student. It's very difficult for Americans to get into medical school, one more for people on a visa. So I got a lot of discouragement from people, but I just determined to check my own path, and that's what I set on doing. So I just bit the bullet and did the best that I could. So during my junior year, that's when I applied to medical school, and I just put my GPA so that sometimes people don't have or they feel discouraged because they don't have a 4.0 or something. But I worked hard and I did the best that I could, and didn't try to be a ninja by taking the hardest courses. I just took what I needed to do to be able to get a good GPA and get into medical school because that was my goal. So I graduated college in 2011 and I majored in biochemistry. I did do Chinese as double majored biochemistry and East Asian studies, but I dropped East Asian studies for biochemistry because it was able to fulfill most of the pre-med requirements. That's pretty much it. But I studied Chinese for like 3 years and I loved it. It helped me, develop as a person and kind of gave a unique twist to my application. And and then I was accepted to Yale, Duke, Harvard, and Vanderbilt, and I ultimately chose to go to Harvard Medical School, where I matriculated in 2011. So at that time, you're trying to make all these choices. And for me, my journey has been quite a long journey. But so I graduated medical school in 2016, and I noticed some people want to do surgery. So I also wanted to do surgery because I was very interested in it when I did my medical school rotation, and I thought it was very fascinating. Because surgical patients, no one wants to become a surgical patient in essence. It's something that you have to, you either you have a cancer or you've been involved in an accident or something that's really or if your appendix needs to come out, you don't choose to just want to become a surgery patient. And I felt as if our patients were very indebted to us, and it was a privilege to be able to take care of them. So I chose to do surgery, and I really enjoyed working with my hands and being able to think deeply about the cases that I was dealing with. So that was kind of part of my thought process, and I really I enjoyed it basically. So I did surgery for my intern year in Mount Sinai in New York City. And at that time, I transitioned from my F1 to an OPT. If you're not in the US, you may not understand these lingos, but that's where after my OPT, because during medical school, you apply for your beginning of your fourth year for residency. So I had already meshed in radiology at the University of Pennsylvania, where I ended up concentrating in nuclear medicine and diagnostic radiology. So pretty much every kind of imaging that you can think of, from CTs, MRIs, X-rays, CAT scan, everything that you can that is under the sun, we learned it in residency. And then I initially wanted to do interventional radiology because I thought, oh, I really like surgery. I like working with my hands. I like it. But then when I was in my first year of residency, that's when I did my breast imaging rotation. And I thought, maybe I could like it, but and then I did it again in my third year. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Primarily because it's you get to work with patients. No one wants to be diagnosed with breast cancer, and their emotions are very high. Everyone wants to do the right thing, and patients are very grateful for the work that we do. And you also get to do procedures like biopsies, localizations. I'll talk a little bit more about it as people ask. But I enjoyed it. So I ended up doing a fellowship at Massachusetts General Hospital, one of the Harvard hospitals, and that's what I just completed a few weeks ago. And now I took up a job in Florida where I'll be in private practice as an attending radiologist. And it's a full-time job, but I really like the practice. I knew somebody was from it for my fellowship, for my residency program, and it seems as if it was a much better fit for me. So in terms of the board certifications, which is, once you finish, then there's a bigger body that accredits radiologists and physicians. In my specialty is the American Board of Radiology. And since I also subspecialize in nuclear medicine, I also took those boards. And to just give you perspective, so it's been now over 15 years since I left Zimbabwe, and now I'm starting my first attending job. So it's a very long time, as you can imagine, right? And um, so as we have this conversation, for me, you have to ask the whys, like why this? Why are you doing this? Because it's not worth it if you're just trying to please your parents because they want you to become a doctor, or your friends, or just because you have good grades, then I'll do medicine. But it's not like that. It's not worth it. If you don't know what your why is. And for me, I'll answer my own whys and share with the group. So the reason why I chose medicine is I was very interested in biology and chemistry. That's what I did for my A levels. And I just thought, the body is one of the most, or life in general is just one. It's a masterpiece, right? The way that the body functions is amazing, and being able to learn about it and for me, because I'm spiritual and I'm religious, I felt as if that was a way of learning more about, the creator and, just how everything is fits together. I just thought it was amazing. And I was very much keen on the science. I was good at science, and having the privilege of learning about all this in depth and being able to really take care of patients and people when they're in time of need. I thought that just fit together. So, being able to learn what I'm interested in intellectually and being able to help people come to terms with either their illnesses by educating them or doing procedures and helping them get answers. Because so many times, especially where I grew up, people attributed illnesses to maybe other spiritual spiritual issues. Say, for instance, if the doctors didn't know what they were doing, then they'll say, "Oh, the Western doctors didn't know what they were doing, so this is most likely an evil spirit that is causing this illness." But and for me, I wasn't satisfied with those responses. And as I learned in medicine, there's usually an answer. Even when people don't know, they're quick to ascribe to other causes. And I wanted to be one of those people who understands what's going on. And that's why I picked medicine. So that was my why. And why Harvard? I really, as I mentioned, I knew someone who had gotten in, and I did some research on the school, and was like, man, this is really good. It's one of the, it's like a prestigious school, and there are a lot of people who have gone through it. So I thought I would work with amazing people, amazing professors, classmates, and that's exactly what I got. It was an amazing experience. I loved it, and there were all these opportunities, and I feel like it has opened up a lot of doors for me, especially when I was applying for residency and anything else that I've applied to. Just having that brand has been very helpful in my career. And I chose radiology because I really, as I was mentioning, like I love learning about the body. I love learning about the science, and radiology kind of brings everything together. You can think of us as people who use X-ray vision to really look through the body and find what's causing the illness. So if a patient comes in with pain, in the belly, we're able to actually see what's causing that pain and tell the other doctors, this is what's going on. Look here, or this patient needs surgery, or this patient needs antibiotics. That kind of being the quarterback in medicine, or the defender in soccer. Being able to know what's going on and help the other clinicians manage the patients. And I felt like it's an important job, and I loved it for that. And in as much as we do things because we love them, I feel like my specialty is also one of the highest paying specialties in medicine. And being able to do that, feeling like I'm fulfilled. And as I mentioned, like I didn't want to be poor anymore. So I thought, and being able to do everything and combine the things that I am interested in, and being compensated appropriately for the work that I do, just fit in with what I wanted. And I mentioned a little bit earlier that I chose breast imaging because, in as much as I'm a guy and I don't have big breasts. So the thing that I thought about is, what will it be if I'm a guy and I take care of women? But, I have a wife, and I have mothers, and I have sisters, and these are people who are very dear to me. And so many times, we leave breast cancer to the latest, when it is advanced and metastasized. And it's a very morbid condition. People, when you diagnose patients with breast cancer, they end up having to do chemo, radiation, sometimes, most of the time, surgery. So it's a big ordeal. And being able to assist patients at the earliest stage, finding this cancer so that they can be taken care of, I thought it's very important for me. I love doing things that have meaning, and being able to do a work where also it's like a 9 to 5, 8 to 5 kind of job. And like most of medicine, like I talk to my surgery friends, and they did surgery, right? And you're working from 6 a.m. or no 5 a.m. to maybe 7 p.m. every single day, 6 days a week, and then 1 day off. I just didn't want that lifestyle. And now there are no emergencies in breast imaging, so I work primarily from 8 to 5, and that's it. And as you notice, like there have been all this decision trees. So you initially start like why medicine? Then when you get accepted to medical school, why this school? And then when you're in medical school, which specialty? Because there a lot of specialties out there. And then when you choose a specialty, which subspecialty? And then when you finish, like which kind of practice, like private practice, academic. So I chose a private practice because I don't love doing research. I did it in a college and in med school and residency, and that's just not my passion. So I just want to be at a place where I'm valued for my skills and in a dual. Um, so and then I thought I also throw in this information about some of the tips as an international applicant. This can apply whether you're applying as a college student or as an international medical graduate. So always, or not always, but usually I prefer to begin with the end in mind. So I come up with an idea and say, okay, what do I want to do? What's the end goal? What's the point of doing all this? Then that comes down to knowing what your why is. Because once you have a why, then and you have a goal that you're trying to pursue, it's easier to achieve it, right? Because if you aim at nothing, you hit it at 100% of the time. Like if you don't know where you're going, it's impossible for other people to help you or even to reach it on your own. So find your why and know your niche. Find your niche, right? So once you know your why, you have your end, you have a goal, then you find something that makes you stand out. Like for me, being Zimbabwean and then learning Chinese and being involved in other activities in college, that kind of helped me stand out. Like when they're reading my application, they say, "Oh yeah, this is someone who want to add to our med school because he has these experiences and you give a unique perspective." And that's how it has always been. So, for instance, like when I was in college, one of the things that helped me discuss my application is I actually spent a winter term in Malaysia volunteering at an AIDS hospice, and that was an eye-opening experience. And when I got to talk about it in my personal statement, they're like, "Oh, they wanted to know more." So you just find some things that are in line with your vision, and also find your niche and know that just trust the process. So things to keep in mind, medicine is very expensive. Maybe now it's a little bit better because of virtual applications, but we had to fly all over the country. Um, and you have to find accommodation and things like that. But anyway, I'll not mention that. But even the exams that we take are very expensive. So just to give you perspective, the most recent exam that I took for the American Board of Nuclear Medicine was $2,900. And the other ones are anywhere from 1,000 to maybe 2,000. And you take the USMLEs, we call them steps, or USMLEs 1, 2, and 3, and then you take the board exams, and it's just a money pit. But you know, and also medical school is very expensive. So when I graduated, to just give you perspective, I had over $100,000 in loans from Harvard, and then my college loans. But thankfully, my wife and I we just made a decision that we'll pay off our loan, so we just finished paying it off. But it's a lot of money, and I've had friends who have like $300,000 in medical school loans, right? So that's something that you think about as you're going in. That is this a burden that you want to put on yourself, or you're just willing to just buy the position? No, because if you know your why, you're more likely to be able to do it. Um, and when you're now when you're doing your application, timing is key. Being the first, like being on top of it and making sure that you get all your stuff on time and quickly get your application, your recommendations, and everything that needs to be done. It'll be helpful for you going in the long term. And then, in terms of my own personal experience, I feel like just know that medicine is it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You don't, like as I mentioned, like it says, taking me 15 years to get to where I am, and it hasn't been. You have the ups and downs. You have good friends, you have bad friends, and people come in, people come go out. People people are born, people die, and 15 years is a long time for anything, right? So, and unless if you know why you're doing what you're doing, it's very easy to get sidetracked and just quit along the way. And really importantly, you have to take care of yourself. Like it's not easy, but you have to know why you're doing what you're doing and really take care of yourself. If it means exercising, if it means praying, if it means having faith, if it means having friends and that can support you, staying in touch with your family, if that's important for you. Anything that you can do to keep yourself sane is valuable. And then don't neglect your support network, whether it's your church, your synagogue, or your mosque, whatever it is. Just make sure that you continue to stay connected because it will serve you very well. Or your temple, whatever makes you tick, just stick to it and don't let it go. And then a lot of people come in as intentional students, like as I did, and how do you manage to figure out what to do, especially as an international student where you don't know anybody and you come into a new country and things are a little bit different. Not a little bit, they're a lot different. But you have to know, you have to trust the process. Like, stick to your goal and know where you're going, know where you're coming from, and just stick to your goal. It will serve you well. Don't get sidetracked. A lot of people, some people they come here and then they hang out with the wrong crew or have friends that are not supportive or be in relationships that just don't help them. But just stick to the process, trust the process. No, if you want to become a physician, you become a physician. Just give your all behind it and just do what you need to do to achieve your goal because no one else, you're accountable to nobody else but you, right? So just do the best that you can do. And if you need help, whether it's academic, otherwise, seek help when you need it. If it's for your mental health, seek help when you need it. There's no shame in seeking help. Just do what you need to do in order to continue achieving your goal. And when it comes to feedback, Americans are very big on giving feedback. Don't take it personally. Just take what you need to take and move on. Don't sit and ruminate and say, "Oh, they gave me a bad evaluation." Whatever. That's what they think, but I know I can do better. When you can do better, just do what you need to do and move on. And then when you're applying to medical school, make sure your personal statement is speak and span. Like they have other people evaluate it. Take as much time as possible. Mine took maybe 2 months to write. Then I'll write something. Then I was like, no, this doesn't look good. And then I'll rewrite it and rewrite it and rewrite it until you know you have gotten something that is meaningful. And I would say in your personal statement and ways, no matter whether it's for medical school or it's applying going forward, know where you're coming from. It's just they want to know where are you coming from, where are you now, and where are you going. If you can have that in your personal statement, where are you coming from? It's like who are you? What have you done in the past? Where are you right now? What stage are you? And what's your future plans? So just think about it in that frame, and it will help you kind of organize your personal statement. And then I've taken a lot of tests. Like almost every time there's a test that's looming. I'm only left with one more test in my life, but then there will be other smaller tests going forward. So there's always tests and tests and tests. There are standardized and multiple choice questions. And I've learned that you have to learn to eliminate the obvious wrong answers and then just guess the last two. That's you become far more efficient. Medicine is not like that, and practice is not like that, but that's how you get to where you want to be. Just learning how to like this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. I think this too might be okay, but I think based on my intuition, I think this is the right answer. Don't overthink things. As long as you learn and you master the material, you'll be able to do well in standardized tests. And you don't perseverate like, oh, maybe this could be wrong, maybe this. No, just cross out, then guess the last two, which based on your intuition. And then just to give you a rough idea of what my life is like, and especially for my new job. So it will be from 8 to 5 or 9 to 6. And I'll be primarily reading mammograms, MRIs, ultrasounds, and doing procedures. And these procedures, we use either like an ultrasound machine to guide us to the cancer, and then use a big needle to take small little samples. out of the cancer and then send it to the pathologists, which are a different set of doctors, and they all look at it under the microscope and tell us what the diagnosis is. So we are the initial people who see patients when they come in and then give them the diagnosis. So there's also the ability to talk to patients, discuss with them the results, and tell them like, oh, this is what it means, and then we also meet with the surgeons, the oncologists, the radiation oncologists, and we participate in tumor boards where all the specialists come to discuss challenging patients cases, and then we come up with a plan together. We show them the images, and they tell us more about the patient. So it's a multidisciplinary approach. You don't just work as a silos, and you get a 30-minute to an hour lunch break, which is very good for us. And I just want to show you a little bit more about what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I don't know if anybody can type in what they think is. This is the left breast, and on a mammogram, which is like a low-dose X-ray that we use to find cancers. Can you just type in the chat what you think is wrong with this mammogram quickly? Yep, there is breast cancer, but where is the breast cancer? That's Mohammed. Cyst. Anybody else? Cell growth. Tumor, breast cancer. All right. Rapid cell growth. Okay, that's tumor. All right. Hey. All right. So let me show you. So this is an interesting case because you can, I don't know if you can see my arrow, but this is the normal. So the black is fat. That's what fat looks like on most imaging tests. And the white is what we call fibroglandular tissue. So this is normal tissue in any patient. And you notice there's a little bit of fat inside, but this is all normal tissue. And because what happens is you light the X-rays towards the tissue, and some of it is absorbed and some of it passes through, and you then subtract the images, and then there's a lot of digital processing that goes behind, so that we end up having an image that enables us to tell what the pathology is. So in this particular case, this is where the cancer is. So this is breast cancer. It's called invasive ductal carcinoma, and that's why we learn a lot. It takes us many years to be able to do this, is because then you have to understand what the normal pattern of the breast looks like, and being able to recognize what's normal. Then it becomes easier to recognize what's abnormal. So this tissue, even though it looks the same as maybe here, it's not where it's supposed to be. There's nothing that's supposed to live in this area. Therefore, I know that this is most likely to be breast cancer. So it's very subtle, and being able to do this, that's why you need a degree and a lot of training to be able to figure out what's normal and what's abnormal, and where to look and what it is in which area. So to just give you some perspective, so this is the skin. This is the breast tissue. This is your pectoralis major muscle, and these are lymph nodes in the corner. You don't really see most of them, but being able to understand the anatomy and the pathophysiology of how breast glandular tissue is important. And then we also always do an ultrasound, and this is an ultrasound of the same area, and you can see this is the skin at the top, and this is the chest wall, and in between there's this darker area of gray, and that's the cancer that we saw in the mammogram. So being able to, so basically I'm showing you one area was a test that used X-rays. This one uses ultrasound waves or sound waves, and we can come up with more information about anything that's in the body, and I find that very fascinating that you can see cancer and tell more information to the surgeons, like, oh, you know what, for this particular patient, look at the 2 o'clock position, 6 centimeters from the nipple, and there'll be this cancer there. And then we can do a biopsy where we put a needle straight into it, and then you can come take little pieces, and then they'll tell us, oh, this is invasive ductal carcinoma. I think that's fascinating for me. So to just my final thoughts, so we can have some time for Q&A. Just know your why, and if you know your why, then you'll be able to stick through, the hard times and the good times, and enjoy the good times. And then trust the process. Just know that if you have your goal and you keep on at it, it takes a long time, but just it will pay off in the end. It takes a village. Don't neglect your support, whether it's spiritual support, your family, your relationships, and your friends. Just do what you need to do. And balance is key, and it's possible to do medicine in the US. So those are the most important things. I would just ask you guys whatever questions that you have for me, and so I can, be more useful to you. All right. I don't know if even any of the moderators had any other questions that they have, but otherwise I can just respond to the ones in the chat.
Yeah, perfect. And if anyone else has questions, you might be able to raise your hand if you'd like to unmute and ask Dr. Magara, like on Zoom, you'll be able to talk to him. But if not, you're more than welcome to ask your questions in the chat. Both of them are.
Okay. So someone's asking me which medical school did I attend. I attended Harvard Medical School in Boston, here in the US. And then it took me, how long did it take me to prepare for the MCAT? It took me maybe 2 years, but they're more concentrated in maybe 3 months, because I started studying maybe my sophomore year, just starting a little bit, and then in my junior year I was more concentrated, and then that's how I did it. Then the difference between nuclear medicine and radiology. So nuclear medicine is a subspecial, or I guess it's a special on its own, and you're dealing with radioactive compounds or radioactive medicines, and use them to diagnose processes in the body. So it's more functional imaging or functional medicine, in that you inject this radioactive body tracer, and then it goes to where the cancer is, because cancer has special properties that metabolize these compounds differently. And then once it's there, then you can image it. So there's an imaging component, or you can instead use something that's more powerful, and then when the cancer takes it up, it kills it. So you can think of nuclear bombs and then use small little doses to kill cancer or to image cancers. And then, is it possible to have medical school scholarship, a fully funded one, as an international student, especially from Africa? I think it's possible. Especially now with some more and more schools opening up their applications, especially financial aid applications to international students. I know one guy who did get a merit scholarship to Duke on a full scholarship. So it's very possible. And he was from Nigeria. So it's possible, but it's like rare. Can't count on it. And then how do you know that radiology was the specialty for you? I honestly felt like I enjoyed just being able to know the science and the physiology, and being able to tell other people, like, this is what's going on wrong with the patient. And I don't see that in other specialties. So we use imaging to really see through the body and to know what's going on. I love that. And then does the US give loans to immigrants, international students, or F1 visas going to college or medical school in the US? So that's a big question, because most of the times I think it's not necessarily that they give you loans, but some people, they end up getting loans from private institutions that need require a co-signer. In my case, Harvard did not require me to have a co-signer, so I didn't need to have an American sign off my loans. I just signed them on my own. And that was a special feature that they had. So that's what helped me the most. Then do you think gap years are necessary when applying to med school? It really depends. So if you have um, any deficiencies in your application, then taking a gap year to beef up your application may be helpful. But I applied during my third year of college, and that's how I just beat the bullet and took it on. But sometimes I wonder if I had taken some time off, maybe that would have helped me if I'd worked in industry or some other job and then applied to medical school. I know people have done that. It's totally fine, and you maybe to give you a different perspective. So I don't have any strong thoughts about it. And if you're not able to get into med school after OPT, would you have to return to your own country? Yes, you'd have to return to your own country. That is true. And then let me see the other questions. And if I'm missing anything, just time. Then why did you choose this very long educational journey? How did you survive with expenses as a student? And did it worth it at the end? That's a good question. That's Ama that asks. And I feel like I I really thought, well, right now I can say it's worth it, but then it's hindsight 2020, right? Because it's been such a long time. As I mentioned, like 15 years since I left, and I'm only starting my first job right now. And also because I took so George's total is, after medical school, it took me 6 years of training to be able to say I can now practice independently. So it's a very long road. You just have to know your why. For me, my why, as I mentioned, like being able to be at the forefront of knowledge, that was worth it for me, but may not be worth it for everybody else. Because you can imagine there's some you have friends who go into get an MBA, 2 years they're done. Now probably afterwards, maybe 10 years later, they are way ahead in corporate America, right? Because then they've just done their terminal degree, which is 2 years, and there will be maybe a senior vice president or CEO of some big corporation. Because 10 years is a long time that you invest if you're in industry. So it just depends on what you want. For me, I guess it's because it has always been a journey rather than a sprint and a marathon, and this has been a marathon. I've tried to enjoy the small wins that I've had, and it's not as if there's like a destination. It's not you arrive at medicine. Um, so the journey has been worth it for me because I get to enjoy the small little things. Like I have two kids, and I get to enjoy spending time with them, with my family. And we even though we didn't have that much money through our training, but it's not like we're poor either. Like in residence, you get paid a decent amount. I was able to finish off all my loans. Um, so it just depends on what you want from life. And now I'm 35, and that's when I'm done. Who knows what life is in store, but I can practice. Most people, I've heard people who practice medicine until they're in their late 80s or mid 70s, late 80s. And so you can just think of it in that way. Do you want to do something that you don't want to enjoy for the rest of your life, or do you want something that's quick and easy and then you may be miserable later on? Who knows? It's a personal question that you have to answer yourself. And then does your financial need impact your chance of admission significantly? That's Kelly. Kelly, yeah, yes, it impacts your chance for admission because some medical schools already know that you won't be able to attend. So I give you a spot when they know you won't be able to attend. But don't let that deter you. Just know that it's not easy. Like it's no by no means a walk in the park. So you have to be determined. You have to come in with the right attitude that you can do this. If you're just half-hearted, don't do it. Just really know that this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it no matter what. Then you'll be successful. But if you're like, I don't know, maybe not, just don't. Just do what just come to decide on your own what you want to do, and you'll be more likely to be successful. Yeah. Let me see. What else did I miss? Let me scroll down. Mhm. Let's see. There's a pension need. Okay. Someone asked, rate 1 to 10, how hard UMSLE is. I think the first step was, it's not pass fail. I mean, it was hard, but I did very well on it because I used the same strategy that I mentioned earlier on, being able to, it's all about taking standardized tests, or even the MCAT. It's all about taking standardized tests. You have to eliminate the wrong answers and then pick the right one based on your intuition. Like, yeah, there's no other way behind it because you cannot know everything, right? You can know as much as you can, but then it comes down to not freaking out, having the confidence that you can do this. So sometimes they throw you these curveballs at the beginning and you freak out and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fail this test. But don't do that. Just know that, trust the process. You know they are not testing you things that you don't know. Just believe that and give the best that you can. Like, eliminate the wrong answers that you know that are blatantly wrong, and then pick the one that you think is the right answer. Whether it's the MCAT, that's the same strategy. Whether it's a shelf exam, that's the same strategy. Whether it's a USMLE exam, it's a board exam, any exam that is multiple choice, that's the strategy that I've used. And then doing a lot of practice questions, learning as much as you can about how to take the test. So doing as many practice questions and then using the test taking strategy. And then Dr. and Abdullah asks, is considering the financial condition a must to think about future, about applying in future? Yeah, I mean, you have to think about that, but don't let it deter you. As I was mentioning, some people graduate with $300,000 in loans, right? And they still may find it worth it. So don't let that deter you and say, oh, I'm not going to do medicine because it's so expensive. Just have that in the back of your mind and have a strategy. Some people pay it off in a couple of years after they start. Because let me give you some perspective. So let's say you get a loan for 300,000, but then most subspecialties like radiologists, for instance, their starting salary is anywhere from around, like, you can Google this information, so it's not like it's private, but you're looking in between 450 and maybe $600,000. So if you have a $300,000 loan, you can pay that off um, quickly in a few years if you want. So it's not too much of I mean, it's a lot of money compared to your friends, but compared to how much you earn, it's a you know you can pay it off. All right so we're left with a few more minutes, and I'll let the moderators, I don't know if anybody has any burning questions that they want me to answer before I log off.
I think everyone is all set from our end, but what we would like to do now is say thank you so much for coming to speak to us about your journey into medicine. If everyone would be able to go into their Zoom reactions and help give Dr. Magara a virtual round of applause, since this isn't something we can do in person, that would be lovely. And I'll also be sending out a guest speaker thank you form in the chat if you would be able to fill that out, everyone. All of the responses that you send will be going directly to Dr. Magara. So the sooner that you fill this out, the sooner we can get these responses back to him. But thank you so much again for coming to speak to us about your journey. And if you have any follow-up questions, we'll be sure to email you. So thank you so much again.
You're welcome, guys. All right.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
All the best in your journey, guys, and I wish you just remember your why and stick at it. You'll be fine.
Thank you so much. We hope you have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, guys.
So again, please, everyone, be sure to fill out the guest speaker thank you form in the chat. And also what I'll be resending out again is our medical debate document. So if you'd be able to open this up now, hopefully you've been able to, you've kind of gone through it at least a little bit. Perhaps last night when we released it, you'd be able to kind of see some of the topics that we're hoping to discuss today. And if you are able to open up the document, you can read through some of them first. The way that our debate is going to work is we're asking that everyone at least hopefully, say something in the chat or unmute yourself once throughout the session, of course, if that's something you're comfortable with. But again, it's not a hard requirement. But I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll go through all of the topics pretty briefly. And then what we're going to be doing is splitting you up into breakout rooms where one of our team members will be in the breakout room with you, kind of helping moderate your session. And we're hoping that this will be more you driven and less us driven. So we're hoping that the conversation will be, happening throughout all of you and that we won't have to say too much. But if the conversation dies down, we'll be there to maybe ask some follow-up questions or move on to the next topic. But we're going to be kind of splitting you up there. We're going to be talking about one topic at a time. So when we split you all up into the breakout rooms for the first time, you'll be kind of just talking about the first topic. And then maybe after 5 to 7 minutes, we'll bring everybody back into the main room and then we'll talk about it here. And then we'll do the same thing for the rest of the topics. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to let us know. But I'll just go over this briefly. And again, this will be definitely helpful to have with you as you're kind of going through the session. But our first topic is on bottled water and single-use plastics ban. So this kind of goes hand in hand with our research symposium topic, which is the effects of climate change on human health, because bottled water, single-use plastics, they do contribute to climate change. So you can read through this. We talk about how many plastic bottles were consumed, the pros to using plastic bottles as opposed to reusable bottles, the cons to it, single-use plastics, etc. We have some pros to perhaps banning all of this, so you're protecting health for humans and wildlife because there can be harmful materials, but also some cons because using these plastic bottles is cheaper than perhaps their alternatives, and it also helps keep food fresher for single-use plastics. So if you do find an alternative, would it still be able to keep your food fresh? And if it doesn't, would that be worse for the environment? So there are pros and cons to everything. Some questions you can consider and some resources. So we'd like for you all to talk about, what you think could be done for issues like this. You don't have to exactly pick a side, either pro or con. You absolutely can, but if you feel a little bit, kind of pull towards both directions, you can just talk about some things that you think are tricky and how you would work through them. Our second topic is universal health care. So we have a description here about how universal health care works in different countries and how, the government can fund certain coverages for people. And kind of the question is, should a system like this be implemented everywhere? Should it not? Does it work? Does it not work? Etc. And we have the cons here, we have the pros, some questions to consider, and then more resources if you'd like to read through them. Our third topic is definitely an interesting one. It's called designer babies. So designer babies, kind of as the name implies, are babies that are genetically altered and engineered via embryo in vitro. So again, this is something that is it's more on the new side within the last 20 years. And what we're asking you to kind of discuss is whether you think this is ethical, whether you think this will be feasible in the long run, and just kind of the costs of, maybe what this might be associated with. And if you'd like to tie this back into universal healthcare, if you think designer babies should be included in universal healthcare, if you'd like to do that. And also the legality of it. Our last topic is artificial intelligence in medicine. So we kind of talk about perhaps maybe robots in surgery or making proper diagnoses from scans. Artificial intelligence will be able to analyze those scans, perhaps without the assistance of a doctor or a radiologist or another healthcare team member right on site. So should we do that? What if the system makes a mistake and someone gets misdiagnosed? Would that be worse, or would it be more cost effective because we'd be able to see more patients, and that way we're administering, a greater range of healthcare services? So there are cons and pros, questions to consider, and resources. We also have some more topics in case we have extra time, but again, these are only if we have time. If we don't, that's okay. We'll just go through as many topics as we can and see how things progress from there. So before we split you all up into breakout rooms, and when we split you up into these rooms, we're going to be talking about the first topic, which is the bottled water and single-use plastics ban. Does anyone have any questions? I'll look in the chat too. Okay, so someone says that they're in a study zone and can't really talk. If you can't talk, no worries. You could also participate in the chat. Yes, thank you, Tanuja. So if you're in a breakout room, you'll either see myself, you'll see Ahmad. Ahmad, you can give everyone a wave. Ahmad will be in one of your rooms, or you'll also see Tanuja. So Ahmad is our director, and Tanuja is one of our executive interns. So you'll be in a room with one of us. We're hoping to be more flies on the wall. We're just going to be there in case we need to pick the conversation back up. But for the most part, you're all more than welcome to drive the discussion. All right. So yes, we are asking that hopefully everybody is able to type in the chat and unmute themselves at least once, hopefully more, but we're asking for hope for maybe at least once. Okay, so I'm gonna open up all the rooms now. And if you have any questions, you can come back to the main room. And if we're here, we'll be able to answer some of your questions. But if not, we will move you all there. And we're going to automatically close the rooms after 6 minutes, or we'll do 7 minutes. And then you'll be notified when time is up. There'll be a 60-second countdown, and then you can return to the main session if you'd like. But that's how this is going to work. And I'll be opening up all the rooms now. And as soon as you get into your room, you're really welcome to go ahead and get started on what you think about single-use plastics and bottled water bans. So essentially, what do you think of permanently eliminating single-use plastics? So like snack bags or produce bags that you see at the grocery store that you only use once, so single use. So what do you think about permanently getting rid of those? Do you think it's feasible? Do you think it's possible? Do you think it would be just cheaper to keep it, etc.? So I'm opening up all the rooms now. You've all been invited to join a room, and there are a couple people that haven't been assigned. So I'm going to work on assigning all of you now, but you're more than welcome to head out. Okay, I'm assigning everyone to rooms right now. Please go ahead and join them, and I will see you all later. All right, welcome back, everyone. We'll give everyone a second to join back, and then we will go ahead and talk about this together. We'll give it another minute or so just for everyone to be able to join back in the main room. I'll answer a quick question in the chat as we're waiting for everyone to join back. I think everyone should be back within the next 5 seconds or so. But someone asked in the chat if, let's see, when dividing people into groups for the research symposium will take place. So we're going to have all of your groups made before the end of the day today. And then once we make your group, we're going to send you all a message to make sure that everyone's still on board and wanting to participate. And then we're going to create a Slack channel for you. And then by the end of this week, your mentors will be added. So we're first going to be adding your MedStem powered student mentors. So student mentors are students that have participated in the research symposium in the past and their submissions have been successful. So they have some experience doing research with us. So they'll be able to help you. And afterwards, we'll be adding your post-undergraduate mentors. But for right now, the student mentors will be there and ready to assist you throughout the whole process. If you've already created your group, you can message me with all your members so that way we can create a channel for you and add your mentor to the channel. But if you're not interested in any mentorship from us, then you don't have to let us know who's in your group. You're not technically required to let us know for sure until the symposium is due, because then when you're submitting it, we ask that you list all your group members and such. Okay, so I think everybody's back now. So would anyone like to get us started? I know it can be a little bit scary, so maybe we can go first too if no one else wants to. But does anyone kind of want to get us started on what you think about the single-use plastics ban or the bottled water plastics ban? I see that, again, please correct me if I'm mispronouncing your name. Rowena has her hand up or their hand up.
Yeah, I really want to talk about the plastic bans. Like we are required to reduce its use, or we can ban it from all over the world. But that will be a really different thing to do. So we can just reduce its use or search for other alternatives that we can use, like bags from cloth, bags from any other material except the plastic, so that we can not harm our environment and we can rescue it. And for the other brands or crows, like it will be a really difficult to search for the alternatives. It will take a long time to do that. So we can just reduce its use and just wait for that time to search for that alternative.
Yeah, absolutely. I like your approach to kind of taking it as not a all or nothing kind of thing, but reducing some things that might be less necessary than other ones. So great job. Correos, do you have your hand up?
Yes, so I feel like we, of course, can ban plastics on like every state or like every country, but if people started to like be aware of like or just feel like that any alternative is useful for them or it is more beneficial, we would like start thinking of like like this plastic gas is not what should be used and we like change this alternative. And like as we discussed in the room with like bioplastics, if we started doing like a lot more research in it, we would like find a lot more potential in it. And of course, the cost of like regular plastic is a lot more cheaper than bioplastics. But on the long term, if we thought about it, we would find that like the environmental costs will be a lot more higher than the bioplastics right now, like in the future.
Yes, I like that you talked about the long-term effects of it and being very forward and being very forward and thinking and planning for the future. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add? You could also talk about it in the chat if you'd like to. Yusuf?
In my opinion, we can't ban the plastic use in a number of countries, while others are still utilizing it. The action has to be an international one. Um, because plastic production and consumption contribute to greenhouse gas emissions, devalues marine existence, and shocks the wildlife that makes our ocean so diverse.
Yeah, I like how you talked about ocean diversity as well, because something that we have also been considering and something that goes along well with our research symposium prompt is climate change and how we should be protecting our oceans and wildlife. Shad, did you want to say something?
Yes, I was talking about we should also more concentrate on like reusing the plastic that is already in contribution to limit its present. Beside banning the plastic, we need also to recycle and reuse the one that we have now so that we can save the environment even more.
Yes, absolutely. So more of a focus on like taking what we have right now and trying to convert it into something that we can use again. Very good. Mahek?
Yeah, so I do believe that it's important that we ban plastic, the single-use plastic, and get new alternatives. For example, instead of using a plastic water bottle, we could maybe use a glass water bottle or a metallic water bottle. And I know that would be a little bit towards the costlier approach, but then assessing the present environmental conditions, it is important that we take such a approach and get the best possible results. So yes, I do believe that we have to ban single-use plastic, and definitely that's not going to happen in one single day, and it's going to be a process.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for talking about how it'll be a process, because it's definitely something that will take a lot of time, a lot of patience from people, a lot of support, and a lot of unity, which of course, all of these things, again, together take time. Miriam?
Plastic is known as a harmful material for the environment, but of course we can reduce it, but not ban it completely, because it can be helpful in making maybe toys for kids or chairs, tables, and the stuffs. But when it comes to our house, we should reduce it, or maybe replace it with using maybe with water. We can use glass bottles, because plastic can interact with water, making it kind of poisonous. So it's be helpful to use glass bottles.
Yes, absolutely. Sarah?
Yes, so I agree with what's been said so far, but I think it's a bit more of a nuanced argument. On one hand, you can ban plastic, but I actually reminded me of a TikTok I watched the other day. I saw this surgeon who was talking about how single-use plastic is super important in the OT, because obviously they don't want to contaminate different bodily fluids amongst different patients, so they have to keep on changing their protective gear. I forgot what the name was, I'm so sorry. But especially in the COVID pandemic, like it was so important with all this protective gear. So like on one hand, they can ban single-use plastic, but it is really important for protecting the overall health, immediate health in the medical surgical domain, I guess.
Yeah, perfect. We'll go to Amr and then Nicola, and then we'll move on to our next topic. But great discussion, everyone, so far.
Actually, plastic is very useful and practical, despite its harmful effects. But I don't think that banning is the solution, is the perfect solution for this problem. I think I will go with the brilliant solution that Germany came up with it, which is making an additional fee on all plastic products. After you finish using this product, there is like a vending machine, I think, but instead of selling soda, you can return your plastic product and take your additional fee. Yeah, and then they collect their plastic products to recycle it.
Yeah, of course. That sounds good. Nicola?
Okay, so my idea on the topic is that I think it's not just it's not just actual like thing to completely ban plastic products, but in my country, Sri Lanka, we have this what you call a law, and there's like it's strictly taken into consideration when you move when you go to a place that's environmentally controlled by the government, like a sanctuary or a national reserve or a beach. There they will check for like if you're taking food in plastic wrappers and such, and so they control it as much as possible. And so in other settings, like let's say a city, I think people tend to use plastic as much as possible, and it's cheap and it's very easy to produce. I have seen factories that produce it, like even at homes you can produce polythene. But we could do is we could move to more biodegradable plastics, if that's case. And supermarkets can promote like other materials instead of plastic bags and plastic bottles. We could promote paper bags, or like cloth bags, stuff like that. And yeah, that's my tip. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also from Sri Lanka, so it's nice to talk to someone who like understands a bit about like what this is like there as well. But yes, I completely agree, like with
Okay, thank you.
how they will like check for things like that, and that's something that might be able to be implemented in the future.
Yes.
All right, everyone. So we're going to be moving on to our next topic. So our next one, again, I believe is universal healthcare. Again, please keep the document open so you can read through kind of the description we have and some other research that you might have there too, but we'll open your breakout rooms and we'll run things the same way that we did before. I'm going to open everything now, and you're all more than welcome to join whenever you can. All right, everyone, welcome back. We'll get started in, I think, maybe under 30 seconds, and then we'll give everyone a chance to kind of say what they were talking about in their breakout rooms or anything else that they might not yet have mentioned. All right, so does anyone want to get us started on their maybe initial thoughts for universal healthcare or universal healthcare system? Yep, go ahead, Kaylee.
Okay, thank you. My thoughts on it are like I think it boils down to the whole equality versus equity debate because some people can afford to pay thousands of dollars in healthcare bills per year and others can't. So if I believe instead of universally making it free, if a need-based system is employed to try to assess people's financial need to make them pay as much as they can when accessing healthcare, that would be more practical in countries that might not necessarily have the tax net to cover the health costs of every single citizen. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Very well put. Mahek?
Yeah, so I believe that UHC should be promoted because income should not be the reason of a person's illness or a person's death. And people of all classes, irrespective of rich or poor, should be able to achieve quality health services and healthy living should be promoted.
Yes, absolutely. Ashna?
Also in favor of universal healthcare. I'm currently in a country that has the insurance model, the social insurance model. And the way that it works for us is regardless of your status in the country, whether you're a resident or on a visa basis, you have to have insurance in the country. It's mandatory for every single person living in it. And based on this insurance model, whatever form of, whatever medical service you are attaining, you only pay 20% of it. So regardless of what the bill is, you only pay 20%. And this is irrespective of any other factor. I did, however, have a question for anyone who would like to answer. I'm unfamiliar with the last system, that is the Medicare or the Medicaid system, on how that exactly works, how that differs from mine. I'm opening this up to anyone who would like to elaborate.
Yeah, you're also more than welcome, anyone, to just unmute yourself and go ahead and start talking.
I personally don't know anything about the Medicare, Medicaid system. I am really, I guess, pro Medicare for all. But I do know that there are a lot of problems, like in the UK, which is where I'm from, where we have both a universal healthcare model as well as a single payer healthcare model. Lots of our NHS, like our national health system, lots of their junior doctors have committed suicide and have had a lot of strikes because of the low pay, like really stressful overtime hours. And that is something that I think lots of people that go into medicine in the UK also have expressed worries about, which is that because it's universal healthcare, because it comes out of taxpayers' pockets, obviously the monetary value will be a little bit less because obviously we're trying to make it more affordable for everyone. And so that will be also kind of a problem for the healthcare providers. Yeah, but I think ideally a universal healthcare system is the best because everyone gets an equal shot of getting healthcare. But yeah, if anyone knows about Medicare or Medicaid, I also want to know about that. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect, everyone. Yusuf?
Economy greatly impacts the healthcare industry in a country. As a result of that, I guess it's crucial that countries with high and good healthcare services transfer experience to low-income ones. And also, it's important for all countries worldwide to take one international action, as we see in COVID-19 pandemic, where countries that take action on its own towards only its citizens, while countries that we can see that they can't have healthcare base and even facing wars, COVID cases greatly increases and the consequence increases the entire world.
Yeah, absolutely. And also going back to the chat as well, Ahmad provided a quick definition of Medicare and Medicaid, which is in the US. Some people are talking about how they like the insurance model method. Some people are talking about healthcare in their own countries, kind of having a mixture of both. How will people that are unemployed get access to government healthcare? So yeah, that's a great question. Does anyone want to maybe tackle what you might do ideally? Not necessarily, what's happening right now for people that are unemployed and how they get healthcare, but if you were able to design your own ideal system, how would it work for everybody? If it's universal, does it include individuals that are unemployed? And if so, how are we funding it? And do you think it would be feasible? Okay, I'll be reading the chat too. Someone says microloans. Okay, that could also be used. Does anyone have any thoughts, or would anyone propose any changes to any current models? Like if you were able to design your own ideal healthcare system, would you make any changes to what you see right now? And if so, what would those changes be? Can you raise your hand or answer in the chat?
I'm happy to go. This is not a model that currently exists. It's obviously an ideal, but for the unemployed in a universal healthcare system, I think it would be, for me, the only natural go-to system, the only natural explanation would be that it would come out of government funding as compared to letting people in pain continue to suffer. That would be, from a healthcare point of view, that's the only natural response. If it does, however, come out from the government system, we don't want to have this, as a prolonged basis just in terms of the economy's view. Along with the government funding that's being provided, I would also introduce a really strong program that helps the unemployed get re-employed in whatever stream that may be, whether or not it's related to their previous line of work or not, just something to help them get back. And this needs to be a very strong system if we want to create a universal healthcare system and prevent that from overloading the, the existing, taxpayer, blah, blah, blah issues that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everyone. So we're going to do just one more topic for today because we are running out of time. So again, our last topic number 3 is designer babies. This is more of an ethical one. And again, there are a lot of different approaches you can take. It doesn't necessarily have to be just ethics, but it's the most, I think, ethical one out of the 3 that we've talked about so far. So we'll split you all up into breakout rooms. It'll work the same way. And if you have any questions, let us know. Right. Hi, everyone. We'll give everyone maybe another minute to join back, and then we'll finish up our last topic and wrap up for today. All right, welcome back, everyone. I think everyone should be back now. So does anyone want to get us started on what you might perhaps think about designer babies ethically, socially, if you agree with the concept or the idea, if you don't, if you fall somewhere in the middle, etc.? Mahek?
Yes, I feel that although there are a few pros towards designer babies, but there are more cons than pros. So first of all, that even a slight error could change the genetics of the entire person and could even spoil and be harmful to the person's life. And secondly, it could be the violation of a child's right. And also, it could cause unwanted genetic modifications that could pass to the future, and that would be really unhealthy for our society. And also, we should respect nature as nature has its own ways, and hence, I believe that designer babies should not be legal.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all great points. The legality of it is definitely something that it falls into more of the gray area. So good job. Rowena?
I totally agree with Mahak. Like the negative points are more than the positive points. So if I was a mother, like my baby need that thing, I won't do that, as it has more. I will take risk. Uh, my baby could have another disease, and that disease can be treated. So like I won't take that risk. Um, we can search for another things like or other ways to treat that when he is older, but I will not play with his genetics or his DNA. And absolutely, Allah has a reason for that. So he may have a disease in his genetics or like a mistake in his genetics, but he could be a great model or a great person in her life or in his life. So I think I would not take that risk.
Yeah, of course. And also, this is, like you were saying, this could be ethical, social, but it's also personal too, because if any of you decide to have children, then if this is an option that's provided to you, it's a personal choice that you'd have to make as well. So you're more than welcome to talk about what you might choose to do personally as well, even if it would be different than what you might choose to perhaps vote for if this ever was a topic of voting or in politics. Anyone else have any thoughts? Yeah, so something that I'm seeing in the chat as well is that, if it has a potential to perhaps reduce or remove fatal conditions, or believing that the concept would be understandable for children who are perhaps predisposed to a disease, that would be something that is more understandable. But something that I'm seeing a lot in the chat, like a more general consensus, is that the idea of picking desirable traits or choosing what they want in children would just be more harmful for society and also for the child as well. So yes, seeing lots of great things in the chat. Alrighty. So I think with that, we'll wrap up for today. Great discussions, everyone. It was lovely to hear from all of you. We learned a lot of great things from all of you today, and we really appreciate all the discussion that you put into this and how respectful everyone was of everyone else's opinions. Again, there's no right or wrong answers to anything that we were talking about, but you all presented yourselves very well and you argued everything very well too. So what I've just put in the chat is the guest speaker form and also your week 1 homework form. It's not due until July 15th, but if you'd like to get it out of the way because there's going to be one more homework form, you can do that now. Again, one of the questions in the week 1 homework form is what you liked about week 1 and what you didn't like. So we're going to be going through everything that you did like and what you didn't like and making some changes for our last 2 sessions. But if you have to head out now, you're more than welcome to. Our session did run a little bit long today and we do apologize. Also, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to, again, message us. The forms are there, you have our emails, you have us on Slack, and I've caught up on all of my messages and I'll be responding to everything throughout the day as well. If you need a group for the research symposium, we have been making groups throughout the course of the day, and then we'll be updating you all on that later. But if you don't have any other questions, you're more than welcome to head out. Thank you so much again for a wonderful session today. It was lovely to hear from all of you, and we will see you this Friday. Goodbye, everyone.